Wisconsin Eye is at Milwaukee at the Wisconsin Democratic Party State Convention, and it's my pleasure to interview 4 Assembly Democrats. Thank you very much. Representative JoCasta Zamarripa, Representative Mandela Barnes, Representative Evan Goyke, Representative David Bowen. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Have you heard there was an announcement yesterday, funding for the Bucks Arena? It's a big deal. The governor in February recommended $220 million from the job tax. Now, the latest plan, $250 current and past owners, and it breaks it out. Can I get each of your reactions? Is this a good deal? And after you answer that, I'm going to ask you, how important are the Bucks to Milwaukee? So I don't care. There's a lot of talent here. Who goes first?
Right. I mean, initially, anybody, we would point to the fact that if nothing happens, we're still going to lose out on hundreds of millions of dollars, 419 roughly. $1 million. That's if we do nothing. And if we do nothing, we're left with nothing. And we've spent money. And we've still paid the tab. We got nothing to show for it. So I think that's the first fact that should be mentioned when we talk about whether it's a good deal or not. There are still details that need to be, more closely looked at, more closely examined, especially as it relates to Milwaukee residents and what they'll be dishing out in property taxes. Or I don't want to carry the whole conversation. I want you guys,
let me get each of your initial reaction to the deal.
Initially, it sounds like a good deal. There's more private money going into this development than when we built Miller Park or when we expanded Lambeau Field. So in comparison to the precedent we have as state lawmakers, it started as a good deal because we had $250 million of private dollars. To Representative Barnes' point, which is incredibly important, the devil's in the details in state government. Words matter when they become law, and as of right now, we haven't seen every word of this deal. So I can't tell you it's a good deal or a bad deal. I can tell you, though, that the next 2 weeks are going to be incredibly active on this deal. We have a meeting as a caucus of Democrats from Milwaukee next week. Our friends in the City Hall and the courthouse and county government are going to start dissecting the deal, and we'll be working with them to find out just what it means for Milwaukee residents and Milwaukee taxpayers.
Okay, David and then Joe. David?
Yeah, I think for me, Steve, I have to understand what's in the deal. We haven't been given those details. We haven't been in those conversations. And it'll be something to see when those details do come about and if that truly does benefit the residents in the state and the residents in Milwaukee. There are some things that do concern me that I've seen in the media, but I guess I'll wait to make sure that I can fully understand if this is really something that benefits everybody in the state.
Before I get to Joe, how long were you on the county board, David?
I was on the county board for 3 years.
3 years?
Yeah.
Well, a big part of this deal is the state's going to do a better job at collecting unpaid Milwaukee County debt. Mm-hmm. Is that realistic, sir?
Well, that is something that concerns me. I did serve on the finance committee for the board. There's not really too much room to work with, and I do not want a process where local governments like Milwaukee County are strained trying to come up with a figure of $4 million a year to put towards this arena. And especially we have to understand what kind of uncollected debt we're talking about, especially if it's debt that is pretty much created from the poor residents that we have in our community, and trying to get more dollars from those residents. I don't know if that's possible, but I'd like to see the details so I can make that decision.
Joe, thanks for your patience. You're a member of Assembly Democratic leadership. Your reaction to the funding package?
Well, and my colleagues have already said it themselves. That we can't say whether this is a good deal or a bad deal right now. The truth is that Senate and Assembly Democrats did not have a seat at the table. We basically learned the details of the deal yesterday along with you and members of the public. It's been out barely 24 hours. We still have to sit down and really roll up our sleeves and look at the details. As Evan said, the devil's in the details.
Do your constituents work at the Bradley Center or the Convention Center or some of the food and beverage bars and restaurants in the area?
Yes, my mom works here at Pato.
Right here, okay. So it's an economic benefit, and would it be a greater economic benefit, Mandela, if there is a new Bucks Arena?
You said if there is, well, you got to think about everything that comes with that. And we have the opportunity to do more than just build an arena. We have an opportunity to provide some jobs, to provide some job training, provide new development in the city of Milwaukee in an area that really needs it, an area that can really use it. You've driven past the Park East corridor. You've seen the potential that area has,
right.
The literally untapped potential. So when we look at building a new arena, right, you can look at it as just an arena, or you can look at everything that comes with it. If we're able to lift that, if the rising tide is able to lift that ship, the arena, a lot more of the surrounding community should follow suit. And if the state, if the city and the county is going to put in that substantial amount of money, I think there's a public benefit that should be had from that investment. And I think that in my conversations, whether it was with the Bucks or with the city, I think they understand that. They want to be good players. Every conversation I've had has led me to believe that they want to be good players in the city of Milwaukee and do as much as they can while they're here. It's only to their benefit. It's a project. The project has to happen one way or another, and we just want to make sure that the project is done right.
What's the downside? The NBA has an option to buy the Bucks and move them by 2017. Excuse me, if there's no new arena. What's the worst case scenario if that happened?
Well, I think one of the things that we're seeing is that there's talk of taking this out of the budget. And one of the things that frustrates me is that the very things that should be in the budget are being questioned of being taken out, and the things that should not be in the budget are being questionably put in. I'd like to see this stay in the budget where it belongs. I think the question is what type of deal and what type of basis should we be making around that deal. There are some things that were questioned that would be in the deal that aren't in there anymore. Okay. The jock tax and a number of other things.
Right.
And it's ironic that at this point that they aren't in there, but we have to fully understand why other options were not included, and essentially the Republican deal that we have in front of us.
Okay.
If we lose,
the Bradley Center is in big trouble if it loses its major tenant. And that's just reality. That's objective fiscal reality. The city loses its sports team, and nobody's going to argue that the Milwaukee Bucks are as iconic as the Green Bay Packers, but they're our team. And if you watched at all this year, they did great. They made the playoffs, and they almost beat the Bulls.
15 games last season.
And they are young and talented, and the city can grow and be inspired by that. And if they are gone, they can't. And it's not just that they won't feel that, it's the blow to losing their team. And that, it matters. It matters to me, and I'm terrible at basketball. But it matters to me. I go to games. I root for the Bucks. I'm not that. I'm slightly worse than David. I'm much better than Mandela.
Thank you.
JoCasta is the best one here. But if we lose the Bucks, we lose that spirit, our hometown team, and that matters.
There's a societal impact. I mean, as leaders in the city, you don't want to lose what you have, right? That puts you on a horrible path when you begin to, the wonderful things that, as big as the NBA is getting across the entire world, it does something for your city when there is a jersey. When people in Southeast Asia are looking at jerseys that say Milwaukee, it makes them wonder, Milwaukee, what's this Milwaukee about? And it sparks the interest of people around the entire world.
But I think the important thing to note is even if you're not a basketball fan, and yesterday's bipartisan press conference with everybody from Mayor Barrett to Governor Walker around how this will hurt everybody, whether you're somebody who goes to Bucks games or not, the loss of revenue to this city, to this state, will be detrimental if they leave.
As you go through the fine print of this deal, are you going to look to be sure that prevailing wages are paid, that minority subcontractors are used? What are some of these issues that you're going to be digging for?
So that's a part of a community benefits agreement that I've had conversations, whether it's with labor or the Bucks and the city, about how do we put together the framework, a legally binding framework that says X amount of percentage of people working on this project have to be from Milwaukee, X amount of number have to be minorities, and we look at the permanent job creation, we look at the job training that should come as a part of this entire package, and I think that deal will be cut out at the local level. That's where my understanding, and that's, I know I've had Representative Goyke and I have been a part of a conversation that's centered specifically around a community benefits agreement. And what that is brings together people who aren't necessarily focused on the Bucks or the NBA. It brings together people who have a stake, an investment in Milwaukee in general. People who represent constituency groups, whether it's churches, labor groups, community organizations, and they have a say-so in bringing forth and highlighting the needs of the greater community and having them heard.
So you've gotten those initial promises that those conditions.
No.
You haven't?
No. The initial promise, the framework is still yet to be put together. When you establish a community benefits agreement,
okay,
it takes a lot of partners, a whole lot of people to come together and to flesh out. Yeah, we want this, we wanted this, and we want that. We want to put together all these things into a package to deliver. So at this point, we're still in the stages of that coalition is still being put together. That's going to approach the city and approach the Bucks and figuring out how we can make it right for everybody.
Now is the time to start pushing for those community benefits, from first source hiring to labor agreements. Now is the time.
I have a question how this becomes law. You'd like to see it as part of the budget, right, David?
Absolutely.
Well, there's three options. Joint finance can add it. It could be added as a floor amendment or travel as a separate bill. But you want joint finance to add it, David?
Well, this is the things that concerns me. When the conversation of tying the Bradley Center and the new arena to removing the prevailing wage legislation from imposing on public projects, I think that's the wrong direction. And if it is taken out of the budget, I think that is direct indication that they are trying to make sure that this deal does not happen. Outside of what we all agree should be the deal, it needs to be in the budget. This is exactly what should be in the budget, and it's not a good sign for it to be outside.
But it should be in the budget. Do all four of you agree?
Yeah. Well, first of all, the governor recommended it in his own budget.
Yeah. Yes.
It's the right place for it, and the timing is right for it.
It's a fiscal item.
It's a fiscal item. We're having more public debate about this one item than all the rest of the components of the budget together. So we have heard voices from around the state on the issue, but we have to get this done now. Timing matters, whether it's from the governor's argument about loss in revenue if we allow the Bucks to go, or to the timetable of wanting to start construction this fall. We want to do it now. And this is not an old idea because the governor put it forward in his budget back in February. And it's been an item that the legislature has been dealing with for months, and we're ready to. I hope that the legislature is ready to keep it in the budget and pass it by the end of the month.
But what if Republican leaders tell you you want the Bucks arena package, assuming you still like it, in the budget, but it's a budget none of you are going to vote for? So.
Well, the truth is they don't need our votes. They'll still have sufficient votes to pass the budget, whether we vote for the budget or not. So.
But there's a lot of Republicans in northern Wisconsin they haven't bought any Bucks jerseys recently. You guys.
They should.
They
should.
And they should really see
jerseys
this
come out tomorrow. That's why they haven't bought them yet.
Oh, okay.
Essentially, they should see it as something that still is connected to them. But at the end of the day, the current plan that we have in front of us, we weren't even in those conversations either.
I understand.
So they are presenting a Republican deal saying you have to sign on to this, but then we need to have a full conversation of what this deal should look like.
Well,
Milwaukee is the greatest generator of wealth in the state of Wisconsin. There's no community that makes Wisconsin richer than Milwaukee.
Yeah.
And that's true whether you live in Vilas County or in Milwaukee County. And the health of downtown Milwaukee and our economy matters upstate as well.
okay. And
It's true. It's just true.
Is that what you're going to say at your next caucus to Nick Milroy and Chris Dano and Eric Genrich?
It's just the truth, Steve. It's not an argument I'm making. It's what the reality is that in this community, we generate the most wealth for the state of Wisconsin, and that is most concentrated in downtown Milwaukee. And that's where this development is going. And it will expand the economic health of downtown Milwaukee, which means it expands the economic health of the state of Wisconsin. The players' income tax, the income tax that the state receives on player salaries, that doesn't stay local. That goes to the pot. That means Nick Milroy and Eric Genrich and Chris Dano get a piece of that.
Okay. And are you going to take that as a member of leadership? Representative Barca and Andy Jorgensen and yourself? Have you had a chance to see whether Assembly Democratic leadership is unified on the package, Joe?
Well, we can't, right now I can't say absolutely we're unified on the package. It's not even been out 24 hours. It's not even out yet, I think. So we've got to sit down with Ledge Fiscal Bureau. We have to look at the details very closely. But it will be, if they pull this out of the budget and it becomes its own standalone, Steve, you know how vulnerable it's going to be.
Yes.
we can't pass it on our own, the Democrats, if it's a standalone. And I find it very hard to believe that I'm going to be able to see Republicans vote for a standalone bill on the Milwaukee Bucks.
Well, maybe you saw the press conference yesterday with the governor, Chris Abele, and Mayor Barrett.
All the slides.
Okay, the slides, yes. The challenge was issued that Democrats like Chris Abele, Mayor Barrett, should lobby Democratic legislators outstate to pass this. Do you think they will? And if they do lobby, do you expect it to be effective?
Well, I do think they will. I mean, I think that's just just effective use of the position that they're in. They need to have those conversations. They have to be they have to play the loudest trumpets on this, right? As the Milwaukee County Executive and the Mayor of the City of Milwaukee, this is your thing.
Okay.
You have to take this.
But it was a favorable step yesterday to have a package, even though you have questions about it. Okay.
And because we haven't seen all the details.
Yeah.
You could tell me you've got an idea for a bill, but when it becomes written by the Legislative Reference Bureau, it could mean something else. And so we have to see the language because that's what the legislature is voting on.
Separate from the Bucks arena funding package, how does the pending state budget that's before joint finance treat the city of Milwaukee?
There are components of the budget that target folks living in poverty, whether that's drug testing or putting a drop-dead date of Badger Care, and those hurt Milwaukee disproportionately. It's not targeting Milwaukee, but since we have the highest concentration of people living in poverty, if you target people living in poverty in the state budget, you're targeting Milwaukee. Okay. And I have huge objections to the way the budget changes administering help to people that need it.
Okay. Anybody else?
Same with education. The bulk of that impact is going to be right in the city of Milwaukee.
I was at a MPS walk-in today at Grant Grade School on the near south side of Milwaukee. Walked into school with kids, teachers, and parents who are absolutely offended, upset, angered about the proposed takeover that Goyke and Darling have inserted with their omnibus education motion with a mandated citizenship test for high school students to be able to graduate from high school. It's offensive in every which way to the most diverse municipality in the great state of Wisconsin.
And the takeover could be a whole new episode to talk about because it's been all day talking about that.
One of the things that a lot of people struggle with when they look at this budget, a lot of things that they rely on and the resources that should be there to benefit them, it's hard for them to sign on to the other things that our colleagues would like to prioritize over those needs. Okay. So for us, there are a lot of things in this budget that benefit our constituents that we'd like to see those resources be available, but our colleagues are continuously cutting and reducing the amount of dollars that go to those important services.
Well, maybe a final question. You all represent city districts. The impact of the police violence incidents, Ferguson, Baltimore, Milwaukee, tragically, Madison, New York City, how has that changed how's that changed the dynamic with some of your constituents? You're both young African-American men. Have you given your peers any advice, David Mandela?
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to one of my colleagues who's a Republican and a former officer, and he's disgusted with what's going on. So people are understanding, like, this is a crazy time. When you look at, the rash, like, how police violence has gotten so out of hand. And, the thing, it's not anything new. That's the startling factor here. It's just more properly documented today. And while there are way more good cops than bad cops, and unfortunately, so many poor officers with poor judgment or whatever bias they may hold are ruining it for departments across the country. But with that said, when you look at mayors and police chiefs who are readily implementing reforms in the departments, because there's a certain culture in too many departments that allow this to happen. And there are conversations that have to take place. So every conversation I have as a legislator isn't an easy conversation, but if it's a necessary conversation, it has to take place, and this is one of those.
Yeah. Any PSs, David?
It's really about accountability, Steve, and ensuring that there's accountability in law enforcement that does not protect that negative behavior, that behavior that treats African American residents differently, especially our young black males, and ensures that that our young people in our community are actually heard when they have real concerns about their treatment from law enforcement. So it's really about its accountability for a lot of our families that are concerned about this important
As an attorney, Evan?
We all buy into the social contract and live by laws and face consequences if we break them. And too many communities see themselves over-targeted when they violate a law and quickly rush to a jail cell, and then are seeing very publicly a different set of rules for a different set of people. And that can be really damaging to that fabric. And so on my block, we want such a healthy relationship that the first instinct is to call for help. That's what those resources and those men and women are there for. And those cases are hurting that fabric, that trust that we have, because we all are asked and abide by a set of laws, and we want everyone to live by them.
Joe, have you been asked about this, some of these violence?
I think that this is a great dialogue, especially as we go into the next floor session day on Tuesday and pass a bunch of gun bills that are going to do everything from lift the 48-hour waiting period to purchase guns, to allow local law enforcement to carry on school grounds.
Okay. Well, thanks for a very great discussion.
Thank you,
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Mandela. Thanks, Evan. Thanks, David.
Thank you.
And have a great convention.
All right, you too.
We'll go
you.
yell and whoop and holler.